The horizon burned crimson as Olivia Foster trudged through the dusty streets of Redemption, Texas, clutching a small bundle of possessions in one hand and her slightly swollen belly with the other, the jeers and judgmental whispers of townsfolk following her like vultures. It was 1875, and in this unforgiving frontier town, a woman with child and no husband was considered less than nothing, especially when everyone knew the baby belonged to the mayor's married son. Owen Garrison leaned against the hitching post outside the general store, his worn leather vest and sun-weathered face marking him as one of the countless cowboys who passed through these parts. But unlike the others who turned away in disgust or gawked with morbid curiosity, his green eyes followed Olivia with something different compassion. "Shame! Shame!" called Mrs. Whitaker from the steps of the church, her Bible clutched to her chest like a shield. "The wages of sin are upon you, Olivia Foster. The council has spoken. You are banished from Redemption by sundown." Olivia kept her head high despite the tears threatening to spill. 23 years of life, and all she had to show for it was scandal and heartbreak. The baby inside her was innocent, but in Redemption, sins were passed from mother to child, like family heirlooms. Owen pushed himself off the post, adjusting his hat lower over his eyes. He had only been in town 3 days, driving cattle north from his small ranch in the southern part of the county. 3 days was hardly enough time to know a woman's character, but it had been enough to witness the hypocrisy of this town, especially knowing that Alexander Whitfield, the mayor's son, walked free without consequence while this woman bore all the shame. "Madam," Owen called, his voice carrying across the street as he approached Olivia. "Might I have a word?" Olivia stopped, her body tensing as if preparing for another verbal assault. "I have nothing to say to anyone in this town." "I reckon that's fair," Owen replied, his voice low and steady. "But I'm not exactly of this town. Name's Owen Garrison." Olivia studied him cautiously, her honey-brown eyes wary beneath strands of auburn hair that had escaped her simple bun. "What do you want, Mr. Garrison?" "I heard what happened," he said simply, "and I couldn't help but notice you might need assistance getting wherever it is you're planning to go." "I don't need charity," she replied, though her voice wavered. "Not offering charity, madam. I'm offering a solution." Owen glanced around, aware of the prying eyes and eager ears. "My wagon's just down the way. Might we speak more privately?" After a moment's hesitation, Olivia nodded and followed him toward a modest wagon, hitched to 2 sturdy horses. "I've got a small ranch about 30 miles south," Owen explained as they reached the wagon. "It ain't much, but it's quiet, and there's a cabin that could use a woman's touch." Olivia's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Are you proposing some sort of arrangement, Mr. Garrison?" "I'm proposing marriage," he said frankly, surprising even himself with the directness of his offer. "Proper and legal." Her laugh was bitter. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," Owen replied, his gaze steady. "I know you're carrying a child that deserves a name and a chance at life. I know this town treats you unfairly while the man responsible walks free." "And what do you get from this arrangement?" Olivia asked, her hand instinctively moving to protect her unborn child. Owen removed his hat, revealing dark hair with early touches of gray at the temples, despite being only 29. "Companionship, perhaps. I've been alone too long, and—" He hesitated. "I'll be that child's father, if you'll allow it. Every child deserves someone to call Pa." Olivia studied his face, searching for deceit or ulterior motives. All she saw was honesty and a kind of loneliness that matched her own. "You'd claim another man's child as your own?" "A child is innocent of their parents' actions," Owen said. "And where I'm from, a man steps up when needed." The church bell tolled, reminding Olivia that her time in Redemption was quickly running out. With nowhere to go and winter approaching, her options were limited. "I don't love you, Mr. Garrison," she said plainly. "I don't expect you to," he replied. "But maybe respect can grow between us. That would be enough for me." Olivia took a deep breath, contemplating the magnitude of the decision before her. "When would we leave?" "Now, if you're willing. I've finished my business in town." As the sun began to sink toward the horizon, Owen Garrison helped Olivia Foster into his wagon. The townsfolk watched in hushed whispers as the disgraced woman and the quiet cowboy rode out of Redemption together. an unlikely pair bound by necessity rather than romance. They traveled in silence for the first few miles, the rhythmic creak of the wagon and the steady plod of hooves filling the void where conversation should have been. Olivia sat stiffly beside Owen, her possessions tucked carefully beneath the seat. "I should tell you about myself," Owen finally said, breaking the silence. "Seems only fair since we're to be married." Olivia nodded without looking at him, her gaze fixed on the darkening landscape. "I came west after the war fought for the Union. Started with nothing but managed to build a small spread. It's not much compared to some, but it's paid for free and clear." He paused. "My wife Sarah died of fever 3 years ago. We had no children." At this, Olivia turned to study his profile. "I'm sorry for your loss." Owen nodded in acknowledgement. "Life happens as it will. What about you, Miss Foster?" "What should I know?" Olivia hesitated, then spoke. "My parents died when I was 19. I've been working as a seamstress in Redemption since then." Her hand moved to her stomach. "As for this, Alexander Whitfield made many promises. I was foolish enough to believe them." "Believing in someone isn't foolish," Owen replied quietly. "Breaking trust is." They arrived at a small creek as night fell fully. Owen stopped the wagon and set about making a simple camp. "We'll reach my place by midday tomorrow," he explained as he built a fire. "It's not much to look at, but it's sturdy enough." Olivia watched him work, his movements efficient and practiced. "Why are you really doing this, Mr. Garrison? The truth, please." Owen sat across the fire from her, flames illuminating his weathered features. "I've been alone too long," he admitted, "and when I saw you standing against that whole town, something inside me couldn't just ride away." "People will talk," Olivia warned. "They'll say I've bewitched you, or that you're a fool." "People always talk," Owen shrugged. "But out here, we're far enough away that their words can't reach us unless we let them." As they shared a simple meal of beans and hardtack, Olivia found herself studying the man who would soon be her husband. His hands were calloused from work, his face lined from sun and wind, but his eyes held a kindness she hadn't expected to find again. "If we're to do this," she said finally, "I need to know your expectations." Owen considered her question carefully. "I expect us both to work hard and treat each other with respect. As for the rest, marriage is what we make of it. I won't press you for wifely duties you're not ready to give." A blush colored Olivia's cheeks at his directness, but she appreciated his honesty. "And the child?" "As far as anyone will know, that child is mine," Owen said firmly. "I'll raise it as my own, teach it what I know, and love it best I can." Olivia nodded, a weight lifting from her shoulders even as uncertainty about the future remained. "Then I accept your proposal, Mr. Garrison." "Owen," he corrected gently. "If we're to be married, you should use my given name." "Owen," she repeated, testing the name. "And I'm Olivia." He nodded, a small smile touching his lips. "Get some rest, Olivia. Tomorrow we start anew." That night, as Olivia lay wrapped in blankets on one side of the fire and Owen on the other, she wondered about the strange twist of fate that had brought her here. She had no illusions of love, but perhaps, just perhaps, she had found something just as valuable, a second chance. The next day's journey revealed more about the man Olivia had agreed to marry. Owen pointed out landmarks and shared stories of the land they passed through. He spoke knowledgeably about the cattle business, the changing seasons, and the habits of local wildlife. His deep voice had a soothing quality that put her at ease despite their unusual circumstances. By midday, as promised, they crested a small rise, and Owen's ranch came into view. It was modest, a simple cabin with a barn, corral, and a few outbuildings scattered across the property. A small creek ran nearby, and patches of green suggested a garden plot. "There it is," Owen said, a note of pride in his voice. "Not much to look at, but it's home." Olivia took in the sight with a mixture of relief and trepidation. This would be her home now, this place with this man she barely knew. As they approached, a dog came bounding from behind the cabin, a rangy mutt with one ear standing tall and the other flopped over. It barked excitedly at their arrival. "That's Scout," Owen explained. "He's harmless, just loud." Two men emerged from the barn. As they pulled up, one, older with graying hair, the other younger with sun-bleached blonde locks. "Those are my hands," Owen said. "Hank's been with me since I started. Jamie joined last spring." He guided the wagon to a stop. "I should warn you they don't know about our arrangement." "What will you tell them?" Olivia asked, suddenly nervous. "The truth, or part of it. That you're to be my wife, and we'll be having a child." Owen helped her down from the wagon, his hand strong and steady as he supported her weight. The touch was impersonal, but considerate, setting the tone for their arrangement. "Boss, didn't expect you back so soon," Hank called as he approached, his curious gaze landing on Olivia. "Had cause to hurry," Owen replied. "Hank, Jamie, this is Miss Olivia Foster. She's agreed to be my wife." Both men's eyebrows shot up in surprise, but to their credit, they recovered quickly. "Madam," Hank said, removing his hat, "it's a pleasure." Jamie followed suit, looking bewildered but polite. "Welcome to Triple G Ranch, Miss Foster." "Thank you," Olivia replied, struggling to maintain her composure under their scrutiny. "And please, call me Olivia." "Hank, could you see to the horses?" Owen asked. "I'd like to show Olivia the cabin." As they walked toward the modest structure, Owen spoke in a low voice. "We should be married as soon as possible, to avoid any further gossip. There's a circuit preacher comes through Cedar Creek every other Sunday. That's the nearest town, about 10 miles west." "So soon?" Olivia asked, though she knew the necessity of it. "Better for propriety's sake," Owen replied. "And for the child, unless you've changed your mind?" Olivia shook her head. "No, you're right, of course." The cabin was simple but clean, 2 rooms with basic furnishings. The main room served as kitchen and living area, with a stone fireplace along one wall. A doorway led to a small bedroom containing a bed wide enough for 2. "I'll sleep in the barn until we're properly wed," Owen said, noticing her gaze on the bed. "You can make any changes you see fit to the place." Olivia walked slowly around the cabin, taking in the details. Men's living was evident everywhere, practical but sparse, with few comforts. A framed tintype on the mantel caught her attention, a photograph of a pretty woman with a serious expression. "Sarah?" Owen said quietly, coming to stand beside her. "My late wife." Olivia studied the image. She was beautiful. "She was strong," Owen replied. "Would have liked you, I think." He cleared his throat. "I'll move her things, make room for yours." "No," Olivia said quickly. "Please don't. I wouldn't want... That is, I understand she was important to you." Owen's expression softened slightly. "Thank you, but this is your home now, too. We'll find a balance." Over the next few days, Olivia began settling into life at Triple G Ranch. She found the routine of ranch life structured, but not unpleasant. Owen worked from dawn till dusk with his hands, tending to cattle and making repairs around the property. Olivia took charge of the domestic sphere, cooking meals and bringing order to the cabin. Despite the circumstances of their arrangement, Owen treated her with unfailing courtesy. He never presumed or demanded, always asking before entering spaces she occupied and thanking her for meals prepared. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, sometimes talking, sometimes in comfortable silence. Olivia learned that Owen had come west from Pennsylvania after the war, working cattle drives before saving enough to start his own small ranch. He was educated. He kept a small shelf of books that he read in the evenings, but practical in his approach to life. For his part, Owen discovered that Olivia was resilient and resourceful. Her skills as a seamstress meant she could repair clothing with expert precision, and she approached household tasks with efficiency. She spoke little of her past, but when she did, he listened attentively. On Sunday, true to his word, Owen hitched the wagon and drove them to Cedar Creek for the preacher's visit. The small town consisted of little more than a general store, saloon, and a few scattered buildings. The church service was held in a small building that doubled as the schoolhouse. Preacher Williams, a portly man with kind eyes, agreed to perform the ceremony after the regular service. The congregation, mostly ranchers and their families from surrounding homesteads, stayed to witness the unexpected wedding. Standing before the preacher, Olivia felt a strange sense of unreality. 6 days ago, she had been banished in disgrace. Now she was becoming a wife. "Do you, Owen James Garrison, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" the preacher intoned. Owen's voice was steady. "I do." "And do you, Olivia Ann Foster, Take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Olivia hesitated only briefly, her hand resting on her stomach, reminder of what was at stake. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. The preacher smiled. You may kiss your bride. Owen leaned forward and placed a gentle, chaste kiss on Olivia's lips, their first physical contact of that nature. It was brief, but not unkind, a seal on their agreement rather than a passionate embrace. The small congregation offered polite congratulations, though Olivia noticed curious glances at her midsection. Word would spread quickly about the stranger who had suddenly become Mrs. Garrison. On the ride back to the ranch, now legally husband and wife, Olivia broke the silence. Thank you for doing this. Owen glanced at her. No need for thanks between us. We made an agreement. Even so, not many men would do what you've done. Owen was quiet for a moment. My father left my mother when I was young. I watched her struggle to raise me alone. His hands tightened on the reins. No child should start life unwanted. Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. This child will know its father's name because of you. That night, facing the reality of sharing a bed with her new husband, Olivia's nerves threatened to overwhelm her. Owen seemed to sense her anxiety. I'll sleep on the floor, he offered, gathering extra blankets. You don't have to, Olivia said, though relief colored her voice. The bed is yours. It's ours, Owen corrected gently. But I meant what I said before. I won't expect anything you're not ready to give. True to his word, Owen made a pallet on the floor beside the bed. As Olivia lay in the darkness listening to his breathing, she wondered what kind of man would show such consideration to a woman carrying another man's child. Autumn turned to winter on Triple G Ranch, bringing shorter days and frosty mornings. Olivia's pregnancy progressed, her body changing with the season. Owen ensured she had extra blankets and insisted she rest when needed, though Olivia often bristled at being treated as fragile. Their relationship developed slowly, built on small moments rather than grand gestures. Owen taught Olivia to ride properly, adapting a gentle mare's saddle to accommodate her growing belly. Olivia, in turn, mended his clothes with expert stitches and began adding small touches to the cabin curtains at the windows. A patchwork quilt for the bed they still did not share. December brought heavy snows that isolated the ranch. During these quiet weeks, they grew more comfortable with each other, their conversations stretching later into the evenings. Owen shared stories of cattle drives and the war, while Olivia slowly revealed pieces of her past, her childhood in Virginia, her parents' deaths from influenza, her journey west in search of a fresh start. I never thought I'd end up here, she admitted one night as they sat by the fire. When I was a girl, I dreamed of adventure. Owen looked up from the leather bridle he was repairing. And instead, you got a husband you didn't choose, and a life you didn't plan. Life rarely follows our plans, Olivia replied, her hands resting on her rounded belly. But I'm finding there can be unexpected blessings in the detours. Owen's eyes met hers, and something passed between them, a quiet acknowledgement of the fragile bond that had begun to form. As January brought the deepest cold, Olivia fell ill with a winter fever. Owen's concern was immediate and intense. He rarely left her side, applying cool cloths to her forehead and ensuring she drank enough water. In her fevered state, Olivia sometimes confused him with Alexander, the man who had abandoned her. "Why didn't you stay?" she murmured one night, her eyes unfocused. "Why wasn't I enough?" Owen held her hand firmly. "You are enough, Olivia, more than enough, and I'm staying right here." When her fever finally broke, Olivia found Owen asleep in a chair beside the bed, his hand still holding hers. Something shifted in her heart at the sight the realization that this man, who owed her nothing, had chosen to care for her with such dedication. The baby began moving more vigorously as Olivia recovered her strength. One evening, as she sat mending by the fire, a particularly strong kick made her gasp. "Are you all right?" Owen asked, instantly alert. "Yes," Olivia smiled. "The baby is very active tonight." After a moment's hesitation, she asked, "Would you like to feel it?" Owen looked startled by the invitation, but moved to kneel beside her chair. Carefully, Olivia took his weathered hand and placed it on the side of her belly where the movement was strongest. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then came a definite thump against his palm. Owen's expression transformed wonder, spreading across his features. "That's amazing," he whispered. "It's a strong one," Olivia replied, watching his face. "Like its father will be." Owen's eyes met hers, understanding the significance of her words. Slowly, he leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Not a kiss of passion, but one of promise. February brought a temporary thaw, allowing Owen and his hands to check on the cattle that had wintered in the sheltered southern pastures. During his 3-day absence, Olivia found herself missing his presence in a way that surprised her. The cabin felt emptier without his quiet strength. When he returned, snow-covered and weary, the smile that lit her face was genuine. "Welcome home," she said, helping him remove his frost-covered coat. Owen seemed touched by her warm reception. That night, he presented her with a small package wrapped in brown paper. "What's this?" Olivia asked, surprised. "Just something I picked up last time in Cedar Creek," Owen explained. "Been saving it for the right time." Inside was a delicate silver rattle with a mother-of-pearl handle. It was clearly not new. The silver showed signs of careful polishing, but it was beautiful. "It was mine when I was a baby," Owen explained, looking slightly embarrassed. "My mother saved it. Thought maybe our child might like to have it." Tears sprang to Olivia's eyes at his deliberate choice of words. Our child? Not your child or the baby, but ours. She clutched the rattle to her chest, overcome with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered. "It's perfect." That night, Olivia lay awake long after Owen had settled on his floor pallet. His steady breathing filled the room as she contemplated the strange path her life had taken. She had entered this marriage as a business arrangement, protection and legitimacy in exchange for companionship and domestic help. She had not expected to find herself caring for the quiet cowboy who had offered salvation when she needed it most. As March winds howled outside, Olivia's time grew near. The baby had dropped lower, making movement difficult. Owen insisted on handling more of the household chores, his concern evident in the way he watched her when he thought she wasn't looking. "We should send for the midwife from Cedar Creek soon," he said over breakfast one morning. "Don't want to take any chances with the spring rains making the creek impassable." Olivia nodded, touched by his foresight. "Perhaps next week. I don't think this little one is quite ready yet." But babies rarely follow schedules. That very night, Olivia woke to a sharp pain and a rush of fluid. "Owen!" she called, her voice tight with alarm. He was beside her instantly, fully awake. "Is it time?" Another contraction answered his question, making Olivia gasp and clutch his hand. Owen's face showed momentary panic before determination set in. "Jamie can ride for the midwife," he said decisively. "Hang on." "Olivia?" The next hours passed in a blur of pain and waiting. The midwife arrived just before dawn, her calm presence bringing order to the chaos. Owen refused to leave, even when tradition dictated men should wait outside during birth. He stayed by Olivia's side, letting her crush his hand during contractions and wiping sweat from her brow between them. "You're doing just fine, Mrs. Garrison," the midwife encouraged as the sun rose. "Not much longer now." Olivia, exhausted beyond measure, looked to Owen for strength. "I can't," she whispered. "You can," he replied firmly, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're the strongest woman I know, Olivia Garrison, and I'll be right here." With a final tremendous effort, Olivia brought their child into the world, a robust baby girl with a powerful set of lungs that announced her arrival to the entire ranch. "She's perfect," the midwife declared, cleaning and swaddling the infant before placing her in Olivia's arms. Olivia stared in wonder at the tiny face, a face that, to her relief, showed no resemblance to Alexander Whitfield. Instead, there was something in the shape of her eyes that reminded her of her own mother. "Would you like to hold your daughter?" she asked Owen, who stood watching them with an expression of awe. His hands trembled slightly as he took the tiny bundle. The moment the baby settled against his chest, something transformed in Owen's face, a softening, a connection that transcended blood and biology. "Hello, little one," he whispered. "I'm your pa." The midwife smiled approvingly. "What will you name her?" Olivia and Owen exchanged looks. They hadn't discussed names, the subject somehow too intimate for their careful relationship. "I thought maybe Grace," Olivia suggested tentatively. After my mother. Owen nodded, his eyes never leaving the baby's face. Grace Sarah Garrison, if that's agreeable to you. Tears blurred Olivia's vision at his inclusion of his first wife's name. It's perfect. The midwife stayed for 2 days, teaching Olivia the basics of caring for a newborn before returning to Cedar Creek. Word spread quickly through the surrounding homesteads of Owen Garrison's new daughter, and soon visitors arrived bearing gifts and well wishes. Owen received their congratulations with quiet pride, never once giving any indication that Grace was not his biological child. To all who asked, she was simply his daughter, and the love in his eyes when he looked at her was unmistakable. Spring brought green to the ranch and a new rhythm to their lives. Nights were fragmented by Grace's hungry cries, but Olivia found unexpected support in Owen, who would often rise with the baby, bringing her to Olivia for feeding before walking the floors with her afterward so his wife could rest. One night, as Owen paced the main room with a fussy Grace against his shoulder, Olivia watched from the bedroom doorway. His large hand patted the tiny back with surprising gentleness, his voice a low rumble as he spoke nonsense words of comfort. "You're good with her," Olivia said softly. Owen looked up, slightly embarrassed at being caught in such a tender moment. "Just doing what needs doing." "No," Olivia shook her head. "You're being a father." Something passed between them, then an acknowledgement of the family they were becoming, not through blood or obligation, but through hundreds of small moments of care and connection. As Grace grew stronger, so did the bond between her parents. Olivia found herself seeking Owen's company not out of necessity, but from genuine desire. Their conversations flowed more easily, occasionally punctuated by shared laughter, a sound that had once been rare in the cabin. One evening in late April, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset while Grace slept inside, Owen broke their comfortable silence. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "It might be good to build another room onto the cabin. Grace will need her own space eventually." Olivia nodded. "That seems wise." Owen hesitated before continuing. "And I've been sleeping on the floor for nearly 6 months now." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. The unspoken question hung between them. Was it time to become husband and wife in more than name? "Owen," she began, uncertain how to express the complicated tangle of her feelings, "I want you to know that I've come to care for you deeply." "But," he prompted, hearing the reservation in her voice. "But I'm afraid," she admitted. "The last time I gave myself to a man, he left me in disgrace." Owen turned to face her fully. "I'm not him, Olivia. I don't make promises lightly." "I know that," she replied. "And that's why I think I'm ready to be your wife. Truly, your wife." Owen's breath caught audibly, carefully, as if she might break. He reached out to touch her face. "Are you certain?" Instead of answering, Olivia leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, their first real kiss since their wedding day. Unlike that perfunctory seal of their vows, this kiss held warmth and promise. When they pulled apart, Owen's eyes were dark with emotion. "I should warn you, Olivia Garrison. I think I've fallen in love with you." The words, so simply stated yet so profound, brought tears to Olivia's eyes. "How is that possible, after everything?" "Love doesn't always make sense," Owen replied, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Sometimes it grows slow and steady, built on respect and shared purpose rather than passion." "And sometimes," Olivia whispered, "it appears when you least expect it, in the form of a quiet cowboy who offers to be a father to another man's child." That night, husband and wife truly became one, their union tender and unhurried. Afterward, as Owen held her close, Olivia marveled at how completely her life had transformed in less than a year, from disgrace to dignity, from abandonment to acceptance, from loneliness to love. As spring turned to summer, Triple G Ranch flourished under their combined efforts. Owen expanded the garden at Olivia's suggestion, adding vegetables and herbs that supplemented their meals. Olivia, for her part, began taking on sewing work from neighboring homesteads, her skilled needlework in high demand and providing additional income. Grace thrived, growing from a helpless infant to a curious baby who watched the world with bright eyes. Owen spent every spare moment with her, his weather-roughened hands gentle as he showed her butterflies in the garden or the calves in the field. One day in July, as Olivia hung laundry in the yard, she spotted a cloud of dust on the horizon. Visitors were rare enough to cause concern, especially unexpected ones. "Owen," she called toward the barn where he was working. "Someone's coming." Owen appeared quickly, shading his eyes to peer at the approaching riders. His expression darkened as he recognized the lead rider. "Take Grace inside," he said quietly. "Who is it?" Olivia asked, already gathering the baby from her basket. "Alexander Whitfield." Olivia froze, her heart hammering. What could he want? "Go inside, Olivia," Owen repeated, his voice firm but not unkind. "Let me handle this." With Grace clutched protectively to her chest, Olivia retreated to the cabin. Through the window, she watched as 3 riders approached Alexander Whitfield, looking as handsome and entitled as she remembered, flanked by 2 men she didn't recognize. Owen stood his ground in the yard, his stance relaxed but alert as the men dismounted. "Garrison," Alexander called, his voice carrying through the window. "Heard you got yourself a pretty wife and new baby." "What brings you to Triple G, Whitfield?" Owen asked, ignoring the bait. Alexander's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Just passing through, checking on old friends." "Is Olivia around? I'd like to pay my respects." "My wife is resting," Owen replied evenly. "And we have work to do here. State your business or move on." The 2 men exchanged looks that made Olivia's blood run cold. She knew that Alexander had never taken rejection well. "I heard some interesting rumors," Alexander continued, circling Owen slowly. "About when your child was born. Seems the timing is curious, considering when you and Olivia married." Owen remained impassive. "Nothing curious about my daughter's birth. She's a Garrison, same as me." Alexander laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet yard. "We both know that's not true. That baby is mine, and I've come to take what's mine." Inside the cabin, Olivia gasped. After abandoning her to disgrace, after denying his responsibility, now Alexander wanted to claim Grace. Owen's voice remained steady, though Olivia could see the tension in his shoulders. "You forfeited any claim when you let Olivia be banished. Grace is my daughter in every way that matters." "The law might see differently," Alexander replied smugly. "My father is quite influential in the territorial courts. One word from him about a baby being kept from its rightful father." "And what would your wife think of this sudden paternal interest?" Owen countered. "Or does she know you're claiming another woman's child?" Alexander's face darkened with anger. "Careful, Cowboy. You're on dangerous ground." Unable to stand it any longer, Olivia emerged from the cabin, Grace held firmly in her arms. "That's enough, Alexander." All eyes turned to her as she walked steadily toward the men, stopping beside Owen, who instinctively moved to shield her. "Olivia." Alexander's tone softened, becoming the charming voice she had once believed. "You're looking well. Motherhood suits you." "What do you want, Alexander?" she asked directly. "You made your feelings perfectly clear in redemption." "People make mistakes," he shrugged. "I've had time to reconsider. My father is willing to be generous, set you up somewhere comfortable where you can raise the child properly." "Raise her as what? Your mistress's bastard?" Olivia's voice was stronger than she felt. "Grace is a Garrison. She has a father who claims her proudly." Alexander's charm vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "Don't be foolish, Olivia. What can this rancher offer compared to what I can provide? My family has money, position." "Your family has hypocrisy and cruelty," Olivia interrupted. "They stood by while I was shamed and banished for a sin we committed together." Owen placed a supportive hand at the small of her back, his presence steady beside her. "You should leave now, Whitfield," he said quietly. "My wife has made her position clear." Alexander's eyes narrowed. "This isn't over, Garrison. That's my blood, my heir." "No," Olivia stated firmly. "She is our daughter. The child you fathered but never claimed. The child Owen has loved since before she drew breath." As if sensing the tension, Grace began to fuss. Instinctively, Owen reached for her, and Olivia transferred the baby to his arms. The natural ease between them, the obvious affection as Owen soothed the child, seemed to deflate Alexander's bluster. "You'll regret this," he warned, but the threat sounded hollow, even to his own ears. "The only thing I regret," Olivia replied, is ever believing you were half the man my husband is. Alexander's jaw tightened as he mounted his horse. My father will hear about this. Tell him whatever you like, Owen replied, his arm now firmly around Olivia's waist. But know this, I protect what's mine. Always. The three riders departed in a cloud of dust, leaving Owen and Olivia standing together in the yard, Grace nestled between them. Are you all right? Owen asked once they were alone. Olivia nodded, though she trembled slightly. Do you think he'll come back? Try to take her? Owen's expression was grim but determined. I don't know, but I meant what I said. I protect my family. I never thought he would want her, Olivia admitted. He was so adamant in denying her before. Men like Whitfield don't see children as people to love, Owen replied. They see possessions and extensions of themselves. He doesn't want Grace, he wants to win. That night, after Grace was asleep, Owen and Olivia sat close on the porch, watching the stars emerge. The confrontation had left them both shaken, but somehow stronger in their resolve. I'm sorry I brought this trouble to your door, Olivia said softly. Owen shook his head. You and Grace are not trouble. You're my life now. Olivia turned to study his profile, still amazed at how this man had transformed her existence. When you first offered to marry me, to claim Grace as your own, I thought you were being charitable. And now? Owen asked, meeting her gaze. Now I know it was the most selfish thing you could have done, she smiled. You needed us as much as we needed you. Owen chuckled, the tension of the day finally easing from his shoulders. Smart woman. Owen, Olivia said, suddenly serious. If Alexander does try to take legal action, then we'll face it together, he replied firmly. But I don't think he will. Men like that rarely want to air their indiscretions publicly. More likely he was testing to see if you were unhappy, hoping to manipulate you. He doesn't know me anymore, Olivia said. The woman who believed his lies doesn't exist now. No, Owen agreed, pulling her closer. Now there's just Olivia Garrison, strongest woman I know, and the love of my life. Summer passed without further incident from Alexander Whitfield. As Owen had predicted, the threat of public scandal likely deterred any legal action. Life at Triple G Ranch settled back into its pleasant rhythm, though Owen took precautions making sure Hank or Jamie was always around when he had to leave the property. By Grace's first birthday in March, she was taking her first wobbly steps, her determined spirit reminiscent of her mother's resilience. The celebration was small but joyful. Hank and Jamie, along with a few neighboring families, gathered to mark the occasion. As Olivia watched Owen swing Grace high above his head, the baby's laughter ringing through the air, she felt a contentment she had never expected to find. This was family not defined by blood or circumstance, but by choice and commitment. That night, after the guests had gone and Grace was asleep, Owen presented Olivia with a small box. What's this? She asked, surprised. It's Grace's birthday, not mine. Consider it an anniversary gift, Owen replied. 1 year since you made me the happiest man in the territory by bringing our daughter into the world. Inside the box lay a delicate gold locket. When Olivia opened it, she found a tiny portrait of Grace on one side and Owen on the other. It's beautiful, she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. There's something else? Owen said, suddenly looking nervous. He took a deep breath. I want to adopt Grace, legally. I've spoken to Judge Parker in Cedar Creek about the process. Olivia stared at him, overcome. You already are her father in every way that matters. I know, Owen nodded, but I want it official, on paper, so that no one, not Alexander Whitfield, not anyone can ever question that she is my daughter. Olivia threw her arms around him, the locket clutched tightly in her hand. Yes, 1,000 times, yes. As they held each other in the quiet cabin, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the darkest moment of her life, banished and alone, had come this unexpected joy. The man who had once been a stranger offering salvation was now the center of her world, along with the child they both cherished. I love you, Owen Garrison, she whispered against his chest, more than I ever thought possible. And I love you, Olivia Garrison, he replied, his voice rough with emotion. You and Grace are the best things that ever happened to me. Outside, the Texas night was alive with stars, countless points of light in the vast darkness. Like those stars, Hope had appeared when Olivia least expected it, guiding her to this place, this man, this life built on courage and compassion rather than convention. 2 years later, Triple G Ranch had prospered under their joint stewardship. Owen had expanded their herd, while Olivia's sewing business had grown to include commissions from as far away as Austin. Grace, now 3, was joined by a baby brother, Samuel Owen Garrison, born of the love that had blossomed between his parents. The cabin had expanded to a new room for the children, a larger kitchen, and a covered porch where the family often gathered in the evenings. On one such evening, as Grace chased fireflies in the yard and baby Sam slept in his cradle, Owen took Olivia's hand. "Do you ever think about that day in redemption?" he asked. "When I first saw you walking down that street alone?" Olivia leaned against his shoulder, watching their daughter's delighted pursuit of the glowing insects. "Sometimes, it seems like another lifetime. I knew then," Owen confessed. "Something told me you were meant to be mine, even before I spoke a word to you." "And I thought you were a madman," Olivia laughed. "Offering to marry a disgraced woman carrying another man's child." Owen smiled, drawing her closer. "Best madness I ever experienced." As twilight deepened, Owen called to Grace. "Come see the stars with us, little one." The child ran to them, climbing into her father's lap with complete trust and affection. Together, the family looked upward as the first stars appeared. "Make a wish, Grace," Olivia suggested. The little girl squeezed her eyes shut in concentration before declaring, "I wish we stay happy forever and ever." Owen's eyes met Olivia's over their daughter's head, a world of meaning in that shared glance. "Some wishes," he said softly, "have already come true." In the years that followed, the story of Owen and Olivia Garrison became something of a legend in the county, the quiet cowboy who had claimed another man's child and found unexpected love in the process. Their ranch flourished, as did their family, eventually growing to include 4 children, Grace, Samuel, and twins Elizabeth and James. Alexander Whitfield never returned, though they heard he had moved east after his father's political ambitions were derailed by scandal. The past gradually lost its power to wound, overshadowed by the joy of the present and the promise of the future. On their 10th anniversary, Owen presented Olivia with a deed to additional land, adjoining their property, expanding Triple G Ranch to 3 times its original size. "For our children," he explained as they stood surveying their domain. "A legacy built on love rather than blood." Olivia, her hair now touched with silver at the temples, smiled at the man who had transformed her life with a single act of compassion. "You gave us so much more than land, Owen. You gave us dignity when the world offered only shame. You gave Grace a name when others would have denied her existence." "And you," Owen replied, drawing her into his arms, "gave me a reason to become the man I always hoped to be." As the sun set over their land, casting long shadows across the fields where their cattle grazed and their children played, Owen and Olivia Garrison stood together, testament to the power of choice over circumstance, of courage over convention, of love freely given without condition or reservation. Their story had begun in rejection and isolation, but it would continue through generations, a legacy not of blood, but of belief in the family they had created together, one courageous choice at a time.